So, my name is Kalle Slaap and I'm a watchmaker here in the Netherlands, and you're watching live watchmaking here on Twitch, YouTube and Facebook. We are going to do this very nice Omega Speedmaster. I was informed it's in horrible shape, so as ever, cheers everybody. This is a very interesting dial because it's laminated carbon fiber. But as you can see during the making of the dial, you can see it's quite an older Speedmaster and an older way of doing things. Because if you laminate carbon fiber, the trick with every layer of lamination, you put it in a vacuum chamber and then all the bubbles will rise and pop immediately. And they didn't do that. So you can already see it's an older way of doing and of laminating the carbon fiber. There is a scratch and I really don't understand how it came there. If a previous watchmaker tried to do anything, but well, we'll do a full restoration, so it will be nice. So, Speedmaster, it's an automatic, it's not a moon watch, but I know for sure that this particular watch means a lot to the owner, so we're going to make it perfect again. And it's been worn extensively, and that's what our watches are for, so I only applaud that. Here we see two slender hands, there and there, and here a big bulky one. And it does make sense because this one is the normal second hand for the normal timepiece. So usually in a chronograph, the normal second hand is different than the chronograph hands, because you see that this hand, this hand, and the top chronograph, the sweep second, are the same style, and the normal hands, our minute, and the normal second is in the same style as well. So we have two styles of hands, but it does make sense. One for normal timekeeping with this one, and this and that one is, oh, it is Rattrapante. That is nice. The watch doesn't run at all, so I didn't see the second chronograph. Now this is interesting because here you can see two different second hands. All of you know it already. I don't do any work up front, so in the watch I don't know what to expect, so that keeps it nice and fresh, and an adventure for me as well. So Rattrapante, interesting, and that means nothing too complicated. Usually with a chronograph you can, very well spotted, usually with a chronograph you can start, stop the second hand, but there are two second hands for the chronograph. So you can measure an intermediate time. So interesting. As you can see, it's based as a 7750, but then underneath the dial there is a second solution for the Rattrapante. I think it's had a rough life. As always in a 7750 based movement, here you can see the ball bearing. And usually, especially if you can see here some markings on the rotor that immediately tells us, and probably there are markings, they are here in the second case back. Here you can see that the rotor was touching this case back, and that you can see some markings, let me see, there as well. Do you see the darker bit? And if I simply do this with a piece of packwood so I don't make any scratches, look at this. If you watch there, you can see there's a lot of play in the ball bearing. If you're into this, we already made a 7750 clip on our YouTube channel Chronoglide. There, Chronoglide. And I'll show you how you can reduce the play here in the ball bearing. Doesn't work always. It may be just completely worn, but there is a trick with the Horia tool just to reduce the play, and maybe it's solvable, but usually we replace the ball bearing anyway. A very common mistake with the screw I just took out is that they changed two screws, and this one should have a small indentation in here. There they are. Yeah, this is the proper one for the rotor, because otherwise, if it's pointy, you can see here the shiny bit in the middle is the pivot of the sweep second. It's a pivot of sweep second. So if this screw is the wrong one with the pointy tip, it will press on the sweep second and it stops the movement. And very easy mistake to make, to switch two screws, but this was the proper one in the proper place. In desperate need of some TLC, don't you think? Oh wow. This is the click for the automatic winding. And usually if a 7750 doesn't get maintenance too often, you'll see in a moment this pivot is mushroom shaped. If this one isn't lubricated well, it'll eat immediately. So completely worn, as you can see. What I think is unnecessary and a less experienced watchmaker is that in a moment you'll see this is an incredibly strong spring to reset the chronograph. But you have to, you see it's underneath this ledge, so you have to get it upwards and then release it. But if you don't do that too careful, you see this scratch here, and again we look through the microscope, so it's hardly visible by eye anyway, but that is unnecessary. If you put just a piece of packwood, you don't need expensive tools to do that. If you make a piece of packwood in a screwdriver shape and you let it slide over the wood, you don't make any scratches. So if you put a piece of packwood there. And with an oiler or something, release it, move it upwards, and you can see it's sliding over the packwood and it's not touching the metal there. So if you do it like this, you never make these scratches. They are just unnecessary. But again, I think everybody's doing their best, and maybe this was a less experienced watchmaker.